Imagine, if you will, a completely useless and irrelevant podcast. You don't have to. You've downloaded this one, where two of the three hosts are connected by a third who isn't nearly as smart or funny as they are, but yet does most of the talking. Biff, the smart one, a Japanese native and resident of California by way of Toronto, is a computer programmer, yet is plagued by tech issues most episodes. Biff has played hockey with Jacques since the late 90s. But if Biff is so smart, why does he continue to co-host this podcast? Joe, considered by all who know him, including all the comedian guests they've had, to be the funniest person they know. Yet Joe says the only funny thing about him is his life is a joke. Gifted or cursed, you decide, with encyclopedic knowledge of video games, game shows, and 80s sitcoms. Then there's Jacques. What can be said about Jacques he won't say about himself repeatedly over the course of this episode, as he has every episode before of this Batman Forsaken podcast. The signpost up ahead says turn around, stop listening, but you're still here. Sad. You've just crossed over into the Carnival Personnel Podcast Zone. I'm dumb. Hey, Biff. Why don't boxers have sex the night before the big fight?
Is it something that has to do with underwear?
They probably don't even like each other.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is for you. This is just for you because you
don't tell me it's for me.
No, you're an IT guy. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Don't tell me it's for me.
Hey, Biff.
Yeah.
Why? What do baby computers call their fathers?
I don't know. What do the baby computers call their fathers, Jacques?
Dada.
God forbid.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Carnival Personnel. This is Jacques.
This is Biff against his will, but sure.
This is Joe.
Oh, and the smiles on my screen just
I really need to change my background to that whole hostage ones. It's just it really is what I really need to do.
Yeah. I do. I keep waiting, for you to have one of those like hostage bags over your head to do
right?
Do the whole. But then Joe and I will think you're doing the unknown comic from the Gong Show, and we will be delighted to see that. And that almost got a smirk on it, Joe.
Hey, did I ever show you my Warren D. Martini pic that I got from Piercy D. Martini show? Look at that. Thank you very much. Rat legend. I'm just gonna start doing just random stuff, and
I'll take it. Like that isn't this whole fucking show.
I suppose, right?
Oh man. So we'll get right into it. As Joe knows, I was the diversity hire at a comedy show last night at the prestigious Lynn Theater and the great Shitty of Lynn. It is a yearly show built as the biggest and best show with the biggest Italian names in New England comedy.
Okay.
And last minute, the night before, our friend of the podcast, Chris Flayhive, I was at another show.
That doesn't sound like an Italian name.
Well, he's the one who produces the show, CPF Productions. But it is. It's a show with.
I'm sure there's a racist joke in there somewhere.
Well, no. I mean, it was. I thought about how to introduce myself as maybe I was the guy who was hired to explain why the jokes were funny to people, or what the jokes were. But Joe gave me the line that just introduce yourself as a DEI hire of the night, and that's what I did. Went over.
There you go.
Very, very well. I did offer to add a vowel to my last name,
Lamberti.
but it was Artie, the pharmacist, Januario, uh,
Okay.
Paul D'Angelo, friend of the podcast, Paul
Okay.
D'Angelo,
Yeah.
and Frank Santarelli, who I work with quite a bit. His claim to fame, and it's at least half of his material. He was in 12 or 16 episodes of The Sopranos.
Oh, that's cool.
He
Yeah. Oh,
was
that's right. I think I remember. Yeah. I think I remember that. Yeah.
he was the bartender at the Bada Bing, who, if he did 16 episodes, got the
Yeah.
shit beat out of him in 14 of them. Like, that was the thing. He got the shit beat out of, and he goes down the list of the things he got beat up with: a telephone, this,
Yeah.
there's so many things he got the shit beat out of. And then one of his really funny things is he talks about he's in Meet the Parents for 20 seconds, where
Okay.
he shows up at Ben Stiller's house because
Yeah.
he's the guy who delivers the luggage from the airport. And he goes, and then 40 minutes later, there's another delivery from the same company, and they used a different actor. It's like, was I that
Must have been on a
bad?
different day. Oh, we have to do the reshoot. We're gonna do a different day. Oh, yeah, that guy's gone. Nobody will notice.
But it was a super, super fun show.
By the way, Ben Stiller, just a sweet, sweet guy. I used to see him all the time. At an office I work for in my side job. So.
Oh, and he's one of those guys with everything that's come out over the years, and the what's up and move and all this stuff. If something was going to come out about somebody, it probably would have come out by now. And I'm so glad to hear, I not that I know him or know anyone who knows him, but everybody I know who knows him talks about him with such reverence about what a good person.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, when I used to run into him, this was when he had the MTV show, so it was way back in the day.
And I think Joe and I are fans of him, but we might even be bigger fans of his parents. His parents are just legends.
I memean, obviously, right? I mean, that's an incredible comedy couple, right? Rest in peace.
Stiller and Mira.
Yeah.
And I've heard him talk about his parents and like the battles at home because his father wanted to keep the duo going, and at one point his mom kind of would have liked to be stay-home mom more, and but anyway, so that's and tonight, to round out like the comedy thing, it is the second graduation class for the second group of hidden battle people that I am a part of.
Yep.
And I have told them I should not be on this show. I am not a veteran. I am not a first responder, and I am not a retired cop. And I make it clear I do not like cops. But they insisted I do it. So I think tonight I'm going to, start by talking about the stolen valor up there to the point that I have not seen Saving Private Ryan. Like, I should not be here. And then I think I'll go into, well, ma'am, I'm a hero.
You have not seen Saving Private Ryan?
Oh, I have, but it's
just
like,
to see, okay.
Whatever it is. I haven't seen Band of Brothers. Well, but I think Saving Private Ryan is the bigger one. But but I am going to say, like, because the guy who is hosting it is the guy who runs the hidden battles, and he did the graduation class last year, and this year we're having him host it, which is great, and he's a really good dude, but he talks about being a cop for 30 years. So I will talk about, like, did I do hate cops? Yes, that includes Scott.
Well, no, I think that's well, you could ask him, who do you like better, Ice-T or NWA, right?
Well, the irony is that, Ice-T, what's he been on Law and Order now? Like
Law and Order,
years?
that has been, but like Ice-T was,
he wrote one song, Cop Killer.
Cop Killer, yes.
That had a.
You paint 1,000 houses, nobody calls you a painter.
Well, you know what happened as a result of that, right? Because because they were I was directly affected by that incident because this was they were on tour with Metallica and Guns N' Roses, and LA, Daryl Gates, who was the head of the LAPD at the time, refused to work the LA show if Ice-T's
body count
was remained on the bill. So essentially they replaced them, with Motorhead, which is terrific.
Look at Joe over there dropping all the hip hop knowledge. You know,
I mean, all of my pop culture knowledge stops in 1997.
Yeah.
So,
but I did see Body Count ultimately at the Mayhem Festival, but they were having problems with the guitar. Like the guitar's wireless was having problems, so they had this long gaps between songs. So he was telling jokes. So I do have footage of Ice-T telling that joke about the 9-year-olds, saying, presumptuous, that joke that I'm not going to repeat on air. Do you know that joke?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, that's the joke that he told in front of his audience to kill time.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So that is
unreleased video.
Do you for now. So what have you guys been up to since our last little chat? It's been a few weeks. Anything fun? Anything exciting going on? Any travel, Biff?
Actually, this was like my worst week of work this year. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it is. But but what I will tell you, last Friday was like kind of the worst day, where on Thursday night, I finally got the okay to do some like these data loads, and then I finished loading the data at 1:30 in the morning. But then I actually had a deliverable for a different client that I had to finish up. So I was up at 3:30 in the morning to finish that deliverable. At 4:30 in the morning, I had my data status for my first client. And then, I worked through the day until about noon-ish. And I said, I am done. I'm going to bed. Right?
Oh, man.
And so no, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm not complaining about that. That's kind of part of the job, right? It's as they say, it's why I get the big bucks or whatever, however you want to call it, right? What pissed me off, right, was right around so my plan was I had canceled Friday Night Hockey, because I thought that this was going to be a bad week. And then I also told, the Saturday guys that, I'm not going to play because I thought it might be a bad week. But I figured that, I'm going to take that nap. And when I get up, if I feel good, I'm going to call JP up to say, hey, is there a slot, available for me to play, right? Well, around maybe a couple hours into my nap, my wife Lori wakes me up and says, sorry, I really need your help. This guy is at the door. He won't go away. And it's one of those stupid scammers that says, oh, yeah, we have to test your water quality, blah, 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 blah. So the first thing I do is she tells me what this guy is about. So I go on my phone and look up, LADWP water quality scam. And so I said, hey, and I start reading the AI results about how this is a scam. And is this you? That was how I kind of approached it. Oof. And at this point, this dude doubles down and says, no, this is bigger than all this. It's really important. He said, yeah, I don't think you understand that I figured you out and I am done with you. And I closed the door on him. But the fact that he didn't leave right away got me really, really angry. And so because I was angry, I couldn't go right back to sleep. Oh. And the sad thing was, because I didn't go back to sleep, I ended up sleeping until like 9 o'clock,
Oh, man.
And so what was sad was that I missed a text from JP saying that, Steve had some emergency, so he needed a second goalie. It's if I was, if it wasn't for that a-hole scammer, I probably would have been awake for this text and I could have gone to Friday Night Hockey in good shape.
Dude, that really, the door-to-door thing, I mean, California is not a stand your ground state, so I guess it's a little safer there than doing that shit in Florida.
I know, right?
You
should have offered to follow him to the next door. You know what? Let's go talk to our neighbor about their water, and then just keep.
I think the next time I'm going to say, hey, let me get a good picture of you so I could post it to my neighborhood Facebook group to say that you're coming around to sell scams.
I probably would have done that. I probably would have followed him to the next house, or I would have gone what I have done before, which is answer the door naked. Just, I have no qualms. It's like, hey, you want to come on in? Anyway,
I need to get one of the ball gags.
Yes,
and
yes.
the whatever it said. I'm sorry, I was in the middle of something. Did you need something?
Yeah,
it might be a worthy investment.
Water down here in the basement. It's just down there at the end of the alley. Just go down.
No, right down there.
That's the thing, though. California doesn't have basements. That's the unfortunate thing.
Or the Alamo, Joe. Fun fact: no
The
basement.
Alamo
in
has
the
no
Alamo.
basement. Oh,
Uh,
you're
and
telling me this now?
I just didn't want you going looking for your bike. And anyway, so yeah, so that's been that really sucks, Biff. I'm sorry, to hear that.
First world problems.
No. I mean that the whole
First
scamming
world
thing.
problems.
It's one thing to get the scam text, which so now. It's great because my oldest son is driving and he is getting a real world lesson into, yes, now that you are a registered driver, make sure that all the text messages, because he was worried about, he had a toll ticket he has not paid in New Jersey. He has not driven himself to New Jersey since getting the license. And had he driven himself to New Jersey, it would not have been a car registered to his name. Yeah. But yet somehow he came out to the living room. He goes, yeah, I got this text. And I'm like, and I told him to do exactly what you did, Biff. I said, you know what? Before you come out and ask me and your mom, Google it. Put, toll ticket, New Jersey scam or text. Yeah. And
make sure the word scam is in there.
And all of this stuff. So yeah, that's bad enough. But if you show up at the fucking house,
I will say that. So early parenting tip.
Yep. Okay. Let's have.
Hopefully you've told your kid exactly what to do if he gets into a crash, because that was a failure of mine where I did not give my son proper instructions ahead of time. And when he texted me on, what am I supposed to do? I was unfortunately on a client call and I couldn't respond to him. Oh. So that's my early, parent tip for today. If you haven't already, tell him exactly what to do if he does get involved in a crash.
That's where in a place where ChatGPT comes in handy, though. Right on the spot, just say, hey.
Well, the good thing is about a year before he got his license, I don't know if it was at a stop sign or at a red light. He was with his mom and they got a little fender bender that, a young girl who was texting. Yeah. They had stopped at the red light. She, however, did not. And so he got to see firsthand. It's like, yeah, she was panicked and what to do. And my wife was very kind to her, but that she had to exchange, insurance papers and, all this stuff. And I had said to him, it's like, so that is a good tip. Maybe, you're off the hook for wrapping up the show with that. But yeah, moving on. Look, I don't think we have another podcast beforehand. Let me look at what the date is. So this will be the last the last time we will have a podcast together before the end of my favorite podcast, Complaints and Observation.
Oh, he is ending it, huh?
He hits episode number 200 coming up.
Okay.
He has, and he took a hiatus,
a while
ago.
Back 6 months ago?
Yep.
Maybe even earlier. Yeah. Right.
And for all the reasons why we should call it quits. Why we should never have started.
Don't excite me like that.
I mean, look, the big difference is, he's a real adult who works and he doesn't need clients, and so he is going to come back with another podcast probably in the first of the year. That's a sports themed one, but nothing where he's really expressing opinions on current events or being personal. He's committed to actually trying to grow that podcast, you know what I mean? And to be less niche on stuff. However, he can poo-poo Complaints and Observation all he wants. I have said from day one, it is my favorite podcast. And I mean, it's like I was coming back with the boys from a trip from Chicago. My friend John in Austin had given me the heads up on it. I probably powered through like 8 or 9 of them on that trip. And then over the next 6 months, I probably caught up with them. And then over the last couple of years, if I knew I had to show up in Maine that I was going to be in the car for 4 hours, I would not listen to it, until later in the week. I would literally save it to keep me company. I usually talk to Joe on my way to shows, and then depending on how late the show goes, I don't bother him on the way home unless something real good. And here's my favorite thing about Dave from Complaints is Joe and I rolled into one. Like, he has all of Joe's smarts.
Yeah.
And just knows things that always surprise me, but yet his self-loathing is delicious, and it's not compensated, but it's counteracted by my unwarranted self-confidence and hubris. So he has all my arrogance and ego mixed with Joe's loathing and Joe's knowledge. You know what I mean? So my favorite thing is in the first 30 seconds of the show where he stumbles upon something, or stumbles or misspeaks. Mm-hmm. And just spends the next 2 minutes berating himself why he shouldn't ever be allowed to be in front of a microphone. And then realizes, his ego and narcissism wins out over his self-loathing, which is why it is sad. But, and look, we disagree some stuffs on his podcast. He does not think people like me should go. Like, one of his biggest pet peeves is people who dress like me at Market Basket. Like, he doesn't understand how people can go out in public looking like I do. Like, pajama bottoms that, have seen better days. And a hole in the shirt, blue t-shirt.
You go to Market Basket to shop for pajama bottoms. Like, you show up and I'm like, hey.
This was a discussion I just had with my son, where work dress standards have changed so much to a point where I found out that my employer doesn't have a formal dress code. And the thing is that in July I went to a client site in Long Island, New York, and my usual dress is, the most casual I get is a short sleeve button up, collared shirt, right? With, actual, kind of dress pants, right? But I had a colleague who's, obviously young enough to be my daughter, and she was there wearing a white t-shirt and plaid pajama bottoms at a, doing the client stuff. I'm thinking, wow, this is acceptable now. And then I saw something later on, from a colleague on LinkedIn saying about, oh yeah, there's, basically, whatever, dress codes are dead. Basically,
So are you going
to drop completely?
Yes.
So here's where the dress code might be really, really bad. And I'm gonna go there in October. Not October. I mean in November, and it's gonna be old stuff by then. But Long Island, New York. I just was at a meeting yesterday where the guy who called the meeting was all gaga over the New York Yankees and blah blah blah. Now, they're playing the Toronto Blue Jays right now. So if I went the next time if the Blue Jays win that series, if I go out in my Blue Jays gear, is that inappropriate? Right? I mean,
well, I was going to ask, are you retiring or are you holding on to your clip-on ties?
Dude, I don't have clip-on ties.
It's a clip-on.
That's you.
You think? No, I think I have two ties. You. One is a Batman tie and one is a Spock tie. And the only time I have worn a tie in the last ever is if the phrase "will the defendant please rise" is about to be uttered. Yeah. No, but that's, and the other thing is he's not a big golfer, but Dave is a golfer, and as we all know, George Carlin has said everything I think and feel about golf very eloquently 30 years ago, and what he left on the table, the kids in the hall finished off with Joe knows my reference. But anyways, I will miss Complaints Pod. I will be happy that that he will have a sport, and it's not going to be a current sports thing. Like he has thrown out some fun things in the past. He actually really loved when Joe and I had done, and I had told him about, we used to do This Week in the USFL.
Yeah.
And then Biff, I dragged you into this burning inferno with This Week in the WHA. I think we did so because one day he just randomly like spun some kind of pinwheel online, and whatever date came up, he looked up what happened in sports that day.
Yeah,
because something happened in sports every single day.
Sure.
I think had FanDuel been around, there would have been an over/under in the Cain and Abel fight. There would have been prop bets about what he would have used to kill his brother. Look at me getting all biblical, Joe.
Nice.
So pour one out for that, but let's talk about something happy. I think we're all for fascism and censorship, and good thing that they finally got that monster Jimmy Kimmel off the air. I think we can all agree the world is a better place, that we will not be suffering with that. Wait, hold on. What's this? 3 days. 3 days it took. And look, I wish Stephen Colbert, platform, could have, the troops could have galvanized and done something to keep Stephen Colbert's job in place. But how great is it that public protest actually worked?
Yeah.
It's civil disobedience, and all it took is 1 million or so people, like management and myself, canceling Disney Plus.
I will say though, like, so the other side of it, as you mentioned, is Disney, right? So this is like a battle, as a hockey fan, so I'm like a Kings Leafs fan. That's like, it's like for me, like, watching, the Canadians play the Ducks in the Stanley Cup Finals and the Ducks win. That's what it feels like, kind of.
Why's that?
Well, because these are two teams that I despise. But
no. But the whole thing about censorship.
I get it. I get the outcome, but it's just that just from the standpoint of like, this is the Disney Corporation standing up to this. It's like, okay.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying?
But the bigger picture for me is the fact
that
the people spoke.
I think it's important.
The Target is still railing. The Target is still suffering from that, and I don't know if that. Look, I will say this: I have not been into Target since that happened. Now, I don't know if en masse that is still happening, but I know that the CEO retired.
It is still happening. Yeah, because because the past quarter announcements basically reflected that. I mean, they basically said that. The analysts have said, this is all a product of and they explained the difference between why Target was reamed and Walmart was not, kind of a thing, right? So there's a whole thing that you're definitely right about that. But and the reason why I kind of say that, and maybe I'm just such a I'm so jaded now, but I'm thinking that I feel like it wasn't the people that did it. They just did Disney did the calculations based on, here's what the current trends are, and then what they assessed as, I think the strength of the opponent is weakening, kind of a thing, and some of the tides turning. I feel like, Disney just made more of this, I would love to believe that it is the people, making the change, but I'm thinking that they just did that, bought some time, and they did the calculation and said, okay, here's the trends, and here's the thing where I think that in the end this will make us more money.
Well, the thing is, right? Biff, people actually acted like the thing is.
I know that. I realize that.
People didn't have
the
to.
Important part, right?
People didn't have to make signs and leave their house to make their voice heard, which is why it was so effective.
Yeah.
And instantly, it wasn't. This didn't drag on for weeks. And Joe and I. And I'll let Joe take the lead on this. Joe, why don't you break down the historical awesomeness of Jimmy Kimmel's return?
Okay.
Because Biff might not know this story.
So Jimmy Kimmel was pulled off the air indefinitely a couple of weeks ago. Disney, met with Jimmy Kimmel, and then they reinstated him. The following Tuesday. I think he was pulled off on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and then so he came back the following Tuesday. He got a big standing ovation. I don't know what story you want me to tell. I mean,
Well, his first line.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So when he comes back, the first line of his monologue is, "So as I was saying before, I was interrupted," which for late night TV buffs is a reference to when the second host of the Tonight Show, Jacques, walked off his show after the network objected to his use of the term water closet, or not even the water closet. He said WC in a monologue joke, and they deemed that as too racy. And so Jacques Parr walked off his show. I forget for how long. He came back, maybe it was a couple of weeks later or a month or so. And his first line when he came back to thunderous applause was, "Now, as I was saying before, I was interrupted." And so, a bit of a Jacques Parr reference there. Wasn't that fun, kids?
It was. I mean, I absolutely, and if you can see online, people have put the two clips together. And I love it. It's like, Jacques Parr stood up to censorship all those years ago. And Jimmy Kimmel did not come out and apologize because he had nothing to apologize for.
No, he was, tearful, especially when he referenced the murder. I think what he said about how Charlie Kirk's widow forgave the shooter and it touched him deeply. And even showed that, yes, he is also a man of faith of sorts, because he says, if you believe in the teachings of Jesus as I do, then that is a great example of that versus, all the other crap that has surrounded the Charlie Kirk murder and this is it's obviously it was a charge that was brought against him by the FCC or a threat brought against ABC by the FCC in light of a horrific murder, but the fact that the right, every time the Democrats do something that they say politicizes an issue, when something like this comes up, that's immediately the first thing the Republicans do. And they do it, with force, it's not just a talking point. They actually use that murder to, try to end a show and, fire or and end a lot of people's, livelihoods,
Yeah, I mean, hundreds of people work on those shows, and they're good jobs. Most of them are union jobs,
Yeah, but how do they vote?
Yeah, well, no, it's look. I don't want to go down that complete rabbit hole, but I was glad that the protest worked. Now, this also probably won't be, but possibly could be our last podcast, only because I at one point do expect to be arrested. And I'm not saying that jokingly. I've talked to my family about it. Look, I live in the city of immigrants. That is what Lowell is known of, Lowell, Massachusetts. And I will more than see I'm nonviolent, but if I was somewhere where ICE was breaking laws, disappearing people, I would not sit still. And in fact, I just got heads up from my favorite sister that I did not know this. And I wish I knew this. I wish I was more involved. But come this Wednesday, over by the Burlington Mall, every Wednesday, they show up at an ICE detention facility that I did not realize was out there. And they don't block cars, and they don't throw things, and but they basically show up in mass every Wednesday.
In Massachusetts.
1 to 4. Yes. Well, yes. And yes. Burlington, Massachusetts. I will be out there starting this Wednesday. And again, I'm not going looking for trouble, but I'm also not sitting on the sideline if it can be helped. I truly believe, and I say this and I mean this in my heart, we are at the point in history where you are hiding Anne Frank in your attic or you are turning her in. And the fact that the Anne Frank book is banned in most places now tells you exactly, where our country is. And it's beyond privilege to say, well, I don't follow the news. Well, that doesn't affect me. Yes, when the president says we're going to use blue cities as practice for what? No, literally, who are we going to be invading?
Yeah.
And true to his word, that this past week, Black Hawk helicopters had hundreds of soldiers descend onto an apartment building in Chicago and drag every person out onto the street, zip tying 2-year-old children. Now, I mean, they weren't looking for a person. They didn't go in there with a warrant. They went in there dragging every person. And just think about this for a second. Every person in that neighborhood, the rest of their lives, are going to fucking hear helicopters and wonder, are they coming for me now? Is it my turn? Like, they didn't go in there with federal warrants looking for a specific person for a specific crime. And if you're not upset that children were pulled out of their bed in the middle of the night by men in masks and zip ties, then go fuck yourself, unfollow me, never talk to me at a comedy show. If this doesn't bother you, look, I'm not losing friends and family because we have a political disagreement. I'm losing friends and family because we have a moral disagreement, and you are a piece of shit if it doesn't bother you that this has happened. And if you're a piece of shit if it doesn't bother you that CNN doesn't cover it, that MSNBC is fucking putting their head between their legs and not covering this shit. We are at war. The Civil War has already happened. The fact that you are sending military people in the middle of the night with the top helicopters that we have descending upon a city and dragging children out and zip tying them. If that doesn't turn your stomach, if that doesn't say we are North Korea, we are every bad place that we've gone to liberate over the past 200 years, we are that place. And if you're using the blue cities as practice for what? What is it you're going to be invading? And when is Boston next? I mean, they beta tested in Los Angeles to see how much pushback there would be, and there wasn't enough. And now they are sending the military to do this. And again, it's only getting worse because Tubby Tubbaville has just said he's running for governor. He wants to leave the Senate so he can be a governor, and he is going to do the same thing. And he mentioned 2 cities in Alabama. The crime rates in those cities are higher than the national average. It is true, but those crime rates are lower than Mobile, Alabama. Montgomery. Do you even know the other city he said? He said Montgomery.
Birmingham?
I think Birmingham. Birmingham or Montgomery. They're not going into Mobile. Now, you two gentlemen are two of the smartest people I know. Can you guess why he named those 2 cities and not Mobile that has a higher crime rate?
Blacks.
Yeah. The mayors of those cities are black.
Yeah.
And if you don't think there's a race war going on, if you don't think there's and the race war and the Democrat war is being funded by what we should be fighting, the class war. So anyways, enough of that. Sorry to go down that rabbit hole.
No, I don't want to get out of the rabbit hole. I like it down here.
What are you watching on TV, Joe?
Oh, I'm watching news coverage of ICE going into Chicago and zip tying children. It's kind of like they have a whole streaming channel of just that. So I'm really following that only and exclusively. So let's talk more about how ICE is destroying the country and how awful and helpless most of us average citizens feel. It's great that you're going out to protest. I'm probably not. I'm a coward. I did not cancel Disney Plus. I actually I added a subscription. especially when they hiked the price of the Hulu Disney Plus package up.
Oh, how great is that?
$2.
How great is that? And the tone deafness of tone deafness.
During Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, they had this, and Disney Plus had an announcement that, oh, by the way, of course, how would they have known that Jimmy Kimmel was going to make a statement in his monologue about Charlie Kirk? But yes, that Disney Plus's subscription was going to go up from $26 to $29. When they canceled Stephen Colbert, I heard that a lot of people did protest to cancel their Paramount Plus, but Paramount didn't notice that they had a subscription service, so they were unaffected.
No, see, we canceled our Disney Plus. I went to cancel my Paramount, and then remembered we're using somebody else's password. So
funny though, if you canceled it,
I would have had to call them, and then it would have. But that is funny. When Jimmy Kimmel did say, "Look, I have a statement from Disney that they would like me to read on the situation." To reactivate your account, simply go to it, and he made a joke.
Settings, yeah.
He made a joke about that, but
anyway.
Yeah.
So what are we watching besides the America and the World Burn? I don't fucking know, man. I mean, I'm so far into like a depression that I really don't want to get too far into it on this podcast, but I mean, I've just only been watching old stuff from simpler times, the 20th century. Shocker coming from me that I'm not watching more modern stuff. Although, that said, I'm a big fucking liar, because we did start the new season of Only Murders in the Building on Hulu. So, hey, I'm sorry.
Or Plex.
I'll tell you.
Plex. You have the Plex password.
Right. We could also steal it. Yes, which we probably will at some point. So I don't know. That's everything. Everything is.
But isn't it game show season, like the summer?
It's not summer anymore.
It is not summer anymore. It is in my heart, Joe. It is in my heart. Hey, which one of us has a real job? Which one of us knows the days of the week?
Which one of us is thinking of quitting his job? Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I am, but but my management said no. She did not accept my resignation. I put my 2 weeks in several years ago. But what about you? What are you watching on Crunchyroll these days, Biff?
Sad to say that like the two shows that I had been watching is Dan 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 and Kaiju Number 8. Season 2 just ended. So I actually started this I was watching what is it called in English? I don't know what it's called in English, but there's this show on Netflix that I had been watching, which is not an anime show, but it had to do with this basically a school doctor, but a guy turned this guy who is basically one of these cranky anti-socialist kind of guy was had an incident at a hospital where he used to work, and so they assigned him to as the school nurse at the school for for a period of time. And so basically he has to deal with he used to be this doctor dealing with regular patients, and now he had to deal with kids in this school setting kind of a thing. So that's a whole, kind of the character development thing about it. But I do want to kind of point out though that, and because I know your sons are, when you say your sons read manga, do they just read like specific mangas, or do they read do they read the Shonen Jump or something like that? Like, because Shonen Jump is this thing. There's a monthly, or depending on which one it is, there's like either a monthly or weekly publication, and it has like 15 different mangas in the one publication. It's all serialized, right? So it's a bunch of serialized stuff. So I don't know which version they read.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't know everything that they follow in that world. I know that they do have the they wouldn't suffer any fools, and they pay for the premium Crunchyroll, so they don't have the commercials now. But I know Shonen Jump only because when he signed up for all this shit a while ago, he used my email, so I still get the Shonen Jump. So I don't know how much they follow all those. I don't know what they follow, but every time I come in the house, I keep waiting to see some kind of logo on the board
Yeah.
that says you've reached the end of Crunchyroll.
Right.
Like
Well, yeah.
you've watched it all.
Yeah. So the kind of the what I'm trying to get to is that the thing that I think the Western, audience don't understand about manga in Japan is that the manga is basically the testing grounds for new
Yeah.
entertainment. And so when I say that, like, so there was a time where like anime was created or any, like cartoons were created without a pre-existing, manga series. But I think that day is long gone. I don't know if the Japanese create any, animated, materials aside from the Ghibli studios and, like on TV, right? Every anime series I think is rooted in manga now. But the other thing that manga does is that it actually is also the breeding grounds for actual live action TV series. And so a great, you know, percentage of live action TV series in Japan is rooted in, they have the manga first. And if the manga is popular, if it's, because a lot of the mangas aren't really like funny characters doing battles and stuff like that, right? They're actual everyday kind of, stuff. So a lot of them turn into TV series,
Oh,
and
interesting.
so I'm watching one of those, right? And which is, we don't really think about it, but so it is one of those things that, like, manga is a very specific thing in Japan that there is no analog to in the U.S., right? So
Does Crunchyroll have the live action, or is it
no,
just
I'm watching this on Netflix, so yeah,
okay?
Crunchyroll only has animated stuff, yeah.
Because when I come in and he has like it's like the whole all the stuff that they have. I've only seen the anime stuff, so I'll
Yeah.
ask him if he knows about the
Yeah.
or if they both know about. Yeah, I mean he's diving into it hard enough where he is talking about I want to go to college in Japan, like that. That's how the
But
little one is into
might
it.
be cheaper than the U.S. I mean, it's not going to be cheaper than state college, but
Yeah,
Japanese colleges aren't that expensive.
yeah, I think
But
he's
I
also
will say that I don't know. Have you seen? There's been a lot of anti-foreigner sentiment that's developing in Japan. There's like legislations that's happening that's making things, and just also commercial
Hmm.
practices that are making things more anti, foreigner right now in
Well, dude,
Japan.
like literally bad news for the world. Everybody's getting worse with that. Every they
Japan is very specific,
okay.
and the reason why is because they're getting tired of the shenanigans of the foreigners.
Yeah, and look,
You know,
I'm glad to hear that it's that and not they're taking our jobs, because that's where the rest of
yeah.
the world, whether it's in France, whether it's Germany,
Well,
whether it's
that
whatever.
element definitely exists. That element definitely exists. But the overwhelming sentiment is that it's the they are getting fed up with the utter disrespect of, like, we don't expect foreigners to fully understand all of the nuances of Japanese culture, right? Their foreigners are forgiven on all those subtle stuff, right? But like when you're like doing pull-ups on, religious monuments, or they're
Yeah, that's the stuff.
jumping, right, all that
Yes.
kind of stuff, right? That's where now that what's funny is that I am now team South Korea because about a year or a year and a half back, there was a guy named Johnny Somali who's some kind of a YouTuber, and he's one of those disruptive YouTubers. And so he went around Tokyo doing all these whatever things, right? Which the ultimate one ended up being there's like a restaurant with this kind of this whatever plastic crab that's on the entrance of the restaurant. He climbs up on that awning to pose with a plastic crab, and kind of damages the crab, and basically the Japanese were outraged, but the police did really nothing about it.
Hmm.
And then he proceeded to do this in South Korea, and the South Koreans don't mess around.
Good.
And and so and he did a bunch of things. The worst of it was there was this I don't know if you know about these so-called comfort women monuments. There's one in LA where it basically has, it's typically a young girl on a bench who's basically a victim of Japanese, military sexual
Yes,
assault.
yes,
Right,
yes.
right, right. So there was one of those in, South Korea, and he goes up to that bench monument and kisses the girl on the thing, and of course the country was freaking outraged, right? So they arrest that dude, and then he also did this like stupid deep fake thing of him like making out with a K-pop star or something like that. and that's apparently another laws violations. And so the dude's been like, and so they detained him, and he can't leave the country. He's been there since like late 2024. So he's been there almost a year. He can't leave the country. And because they revoked his visa, he can't produce any content. So he's like, he started a GoFundMe. I'm thinking, go South Korea.
Good. No. Well, the only, I can't believe that there's a genre of YouTuber called disruptive where they purposely go. I think this would follow under it. I will say there was one of those that my son showed me a video a while ago, and it's so stupid. It's a guy who goes to Italy, and he puts ketchup on his pasta.
No pasta,
and it's just the look of like horror, and he's got thrown out of restaurants and stuff like that.
But I mean, that's fine, right? I mean, you're being disrespectable, right? But it's like, look, I paid for this food. I do what I want, and I'm just getting a reaction, right?
Right.
He's not this. I mean, he's maybe upsetting others, but like he's not going like this guy. I mean, the guy.
No, that's different. Yeah. Totally different.
The guy, his reaction is things like he goes into like a 7-Eleven. He did this in both countries where he'll get the, like the cup of noodle stuff, and 7-Elevens in Japan and South Korea have eating areas, and then he'll get the stuff and he just slams the thing and creates a huge mess, and he's just to get the
get the likes, man. Yeah, right. No, that's a piece of shit. I'm watching, and I fell down the rabbit hole, and Joe alluded to this, a simpler time, and I mean it. Dude, the world is so fucked. But for the last couple weeks, once I come home and everybody goes to bed and it's just kind of me, playing on the phone and having something in the background, I have probably watched 30 plus episodes in the last 2 weeks of the original Perry Mason.
Oh yeah.
And it's great. I will say I'm 30 episodes in. Zero people, like there was one episode with some Japanese people that I don't know if they actually were Japanese. I mean, it's like, nondescript Asian, kind of a storyline, and basically it is what it is. It's Perry Mason, but it's 1955 to 64.
To be fair, right? Raymond Burr did appear in a Japanese movie around that time, so.
So it's yes.
You know about this, right?
I do know about that, and it's like, okay. But I mean, as Joe would say, they didn't know. But yeah, so that's all I've been watching.
I did find out that there was a TV network called Get TV that I didn't know about, and it seems like just like another one of those. Like I know like there's Cozy and there's Antenna TV that I knew about, but like it was one of those deals where so my TV, the default thing is what they call Samsung TV, which is essentially all these digital channels, right? And then it landed on this Get TV, and then I stopped because it had some like Rockford Files movie from the 90s that I did not know existed. And so I just thought it was called Rockford Files blah blah blah, but there was this little thing that says I still love LA kind of a thing. So this is hilarious. So, and it was this weird thing where I didn't I had to go on to something else. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but somehow he has a house on the Malibu beach, but then he gets all threatened because of these forest fires, and so whatever.
It's amazing how many of those 70s shows have like 90s reunion movies, like those made-for-TV movies, like Get Smart Today or Heart to Heart. Like had like a bunch of those in the 90s. Actually,
right? Okay.
I stumbled upon one where Jason Bateman, Heart to Heart 90s made-for-TV movie.
Yeah. Jason
Bateman is, one of the characters in the show. And there's some like, jewel heist or something that the Hearts have to get involved with, but big bummer coming up. So at the end, somebody mentions like their uncle, and it turns out that the uncle is special guest appearance by who happens to be the president of the United States. Oh. And it's like, and the credits had like a special thank you to Mr. Donald Trump. And it was like, man, it's been going on for decades.
That guy infects every aspect of happiness, doesn't he?
Yes. He's worse almost as bad as Bill Cosby. Let's just say almost as bad as Bill Cosby, because if you watch old commercials, Man, Bill Cosby ruins a lot of brands you might enjoy.
Oh.
Jello pudding.
But no, when I say ruin everything, let's get on to sports. The piece of shit last week called the president of FIFA and demanded. Do you guys know this? The president called the head of FIFA demanding that all the games scheduled to be played in blue cities be moved to red states because the blue states are hellscapes. And so the World Cup's coming up, and it's a North American World Cup, games in Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. A lot of the games in the first couple rounds are being played in Canada and in Mexico, but the round of 16, once you get to 16, it's all in the U.S. And there's 11 cities where the games are being played, and it's Los Angeles, it's San Francisco, it's Chicago, it's they say Boston, but I think the games are going to be played in Gillette. I don't know if there's, and I'm trying to think if there's maybe if they're playing at a college stadium, but that's where the Revolutionary plays. I don't know if there's a bigger stadium than Gillette, and the round of 16, it's a big deal. And he literally called and FIFA for, kind of, I don't know if they show backbone, but they're like, no, we're not moving these games. We made these deals with these cities.
Right. Well, I mean, to be honest, the Trump administration is kind of new as far as corrupt organizations go, whereas FIFA has been around for decades.
Yes.
If you want to do a head-to-head with corrupt organizations, you are not going to stand a chance against FIFA. I mean, maybe the Olympics, FIFA and the Olympics, had a battle royale. I don't know who would win that. It's like Superman and Batman. Who would win? If only there was a movie that would decide that.
That's a great imaginary comment. I know you're new at this. Let me tell you, this is not how you do it. Maybe if you do this for a few more years, maybe you'll learn how to do this. I just have this thing of, kind of that condescending, fatherly tone.
Right. Step aside, Junior. Let us handle. We got this covered. And if you're going to make us do anything, or try to make us change our ways, you got another thing coming. But who knows? Maybe America will surprise FIFA.
Well, there is, and I've been saying this for a while. Look, it's a big enough thing the last few months where FIFA keeps having to release statements, but there's a lot of outcry, and I don't mean from regular pieces of shit like the three of us. I'm talking governing bodies of football around the world are saying, we would really like you to move the games out of the United States because we don't want to travel to the U.S. More and more countries are putting travel bans. They're not putting travel bans. They're having travel advisories. So you have the governing body of La Liga coming out. You have the governing body of the Germany football organizations and stuff like that coming out, also, and again, it's hard to keep politics out of shit, but I don't know if you guys know this in the last couple of weeks.
But it's not politics, right? It's it's really it's not politics when we're talking about are citizens attending these games going to be detained, right?
That's it, right?
Yeah, that's not politics.
Well, the other big thing,
in the end, it's kind of politically motivated because these actions are all the result of political actions, and they'll also foster new political actions. So yes,
but Norway has come out, and Norway has to play Israel and what's called a friendly, qualifying.
Yeah.
And Norway has said all the players, the entire organization, all the money that is coming in from this game is going to Gaza relief, Gaza humanitarian aid. They're not. We're not getting guns for Hamas. They were clear. Yeah. All the money, and Israel has said that is anti-Semitic, and Norway has said then you don't play the game. This is where our money is going. Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on in the governing body. Hey, but one good thing in the world of football / soccer, Heung-min Son is catching LA on fire, as I'm quite sure you've been following.
And he was at the Rams game.
Do you really want to use the term catching LA on fire?
Yeah, you know what, Joe? Thank you. Thank you for being the guiding voice of reason once again. But he has scored 8 goals in his first 8 games for the LAFC. He is loving it. And for those who don't know, there are, it's funny because Jack Can Cook bought the LA Kings because, and what was it, 1966, there were more Canadians in Southern California than the rest of the world combined outside of Canada. Yeah. Koreatown, there are more people, there are more Koreans in Koreatown, Los Angeles than expat Koreans collectively around the globe. And so it's great. It's great. So that's one of those things. He could have gone any other place. He could have stayed, he could have had a couple more good seasons in the Premier League. He definitely could have gone to.
I'll just cut you off right there. I'm going to tell you, say that when a member of BTS says that Koreatown has better food than Korea, I mean,
man.
Why would he go anywhere else?
So there's North Korea, South Korea, and New Korea.
And so that's sport. We got anything? Well, you know what? Yeah, let's just wrap it up. You got another parenting tip in the chamber ready to go?
No.
Maybe one of your better ones. Joe, do you got something for us?
I'm afraid I don't. The FCC has warned me to not give any parenting tips. Considering my poor parenting track record, they've deemed that any advice that I give over any airwaves, whether they regulate them or not, is deemed impermissible. I apologize.
So my parenting tip would be, when you are planning to go to protest at an ICE facility,
when
the next Wednesday, tell your kids you love them before you go, because you don't know when you're going to see them again. So that would be my parenting tip.
Yeah.
And just like we did during the lockdown, mask up. Don't show these people who you are. Return the favor that they give to us.
Yeah, so
that's what I say. That's my protesting tip of the week.
Are you going to dig up that Iron Man mask now?
Oh boy. Well, Jacques has pushed away his microphone, meaning that he gets to quit the show. So good for him. I wish I could just fucking walk away from this show. Just here, I'll push my mic away. You like that, audience? You like that silence? Oh, wasn't that peaceful? Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes around these parts. Everybody's just going to dummy up. Not me. I'm not staying silent because it's the end of the podcast, so I have to cram in all my talking in this last minute. Oh boy. Yeah, I feel really bad about things. Globally, personally, professionally, spiritually, everything. I don't feel so good. Mr. Stark. I don't feel. See, I knew I'd break the silence with an Avengers reference there, but yeah, I mean, yeah. The world is bad. Yeah. The world is terrible. Oh, I don't have a follow-up. I'm just letting you know that yes, all of those things are true, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, yeah. Well, this is just the way things are going. So I kind of wonder what the tipping point will be for the other side, if you will, of things. Like, is there going to be? I know that. Listen, Jimmy Kimmel in his monologue when he returned did say that violence is never the answer. It's never the solution. I disagree. Sometimes, in very, very specific situations, I think violence will be an answer. Maybe not the right answer, but it will be an answer. God willing, we get by with nonviolence, and we'll be able to turn the tide that way. But I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. That's just like, I'm not as good as our president, speaking off the cuff. They say they say that violence isn't the answer, but I disagree. I think the violence is a good answer. I think it's a great answer. I think it's the number one answer on the board. Survey says, yep. It seems to be his answer. That seems to be the, although he's trying to bring peace to the Middle East. He's got the the peace talks right over the weekend. They're gonna, unless Hamas screws it up, or unless the Democrats screw it up. I think there's like two groups that could screw up the peace in the Middle East. It'll either be Hamas or the Democrats. By the way, the government's been shut down. We didn't even talk about that, unless it's been reopened, and I don't know. But that just means that thousands of government employees have either been furloughed or are working without pay. But don't worry, there will be more fire-ins to come, unless the Democrats sign their blood oath to the Trump administration, and if those blue states can get their act together and just let them in. I mean, if we can just negotiate with the Germans, I mean the Trump administration, then we'll be in a better place. Just roll over and take it. What's the big deal, cities? Huh? Are you so high and mighty that you can't let some upstart organizations like the Department of Homeland Security let a bunch of masked I wonder if these people are documented. They talk about getting rid of documented people, out of the country, undocumented people out of the country. I don't even know if these ICE agents are necessarily documented, but maybe they are. I guess because they're signing up they can get their student loans forgiven. That's the student debt relief program of the Trump administration. Yeah, you want your student debts relieved or erased, or at least the illusion that we will actually do this, or the promise that that will actually be the case. Sign up for ICE. And apparently that's like, I saw a post by somebody who was traveling from Japan to the United States or returning to the United States from Japan. And they were disheartened to see how many recruitment posters are in the customs area at the airport. It's a bummer, man. It's a real downer, but you know what? Fuck ICE. Abolish ICE. And you know what? I apologize to Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice. He was the nicest Ice of all. We had some words back in the 90s that maybe weren't so kind to Mr. Van Winkle, right? Isn't Rob Van Winkle his real name? He's a nice guy. Yeah. It should be nice baby instead of ice baby. I don't know. Or maybe he can come back with a protest song, like a parody of Ice Baby. But I don't know what the words would be because I'm not a parodist. I'm not parodic in that way. So I don't know. I'll leave that to the professionals. I don't think Al Yankovic is going to be doing an Ice Baby parody anytime soon. Anyways, that's all. Good luck with the protest, Jacques. It was nice knowing you. Biff, it's always a pleasure to see you and to talk with you and to hear how things are going on the other side of the country, in one of the other rotten blue states that are ruining this land of ours. But I don't know. We'll see how things go. Right? That's all we can do. Is just we will see. We're not going to do. We'll just see. There's nothing we can do. Oh well. Sorry, you came here for hope and nope, that's not happening. No hope, hopelessness. That's what I bring. This is a Star Wars, a no hope. I don't know what that means. Jacques, can you just do me a favor and can you just edit out all the talking that I did in the end and then just jump to me saying, "Don't forget."